Hey guys, welcome to my guide on how to host your own Dreadhunger games using the extremely useful, easy to use Dreadhunger overlay. This overlay was a massive step forward for making Dreadhunger feel like its own standalone game once again, as the overlay allows you to host a game of Dreadhunger from within the game itself without needing to leave the game screen. Simply put, once you install this overlay, you can access it whilst in-game to set up your own Dreadhunger server and host a game for your lobby, using the specific game settings that you select for the match. This overlay is very user-friendly and simple to use once you take the time to install and understand it. And that's what this video is all about. A guide on how to install the Dreadhunger overlay and an explanation on how to use it to host your own Dreadhunger servers to play with friends. So let's get straight into it with a step-by-step installation guide to get the overlay working for you. To start, click on the github.com link that ends in /releases that is in the description of this video. When this opens up, it should very clearly show all of the releases for this server overlay. It started with 1.0 and has worked its way up to version 1.3 as of September 2024. Now, of course, if you're watching this video a year or two down the road, there may be more releases of this overlay, be it 1.4 or 1.8 or so on. So simply click on the most recent version of this overlay, in my case version 1.3, and that will start a download, which should be relatively quick. Once it's completed, click on the Show in Folder button so that you can see where it's downloaded to. Double-click the downloaded file, which should just work, and open it up. I know back in the day there used to be a bit of an issue with unzipping files, but I think Microsoft has well and truly fixed that by now. Now you simply want to copy the contents of the Dreadhunger server overlay version 1.3 or whatever version you have folder. Once you have this copied, navigate to your Dreadhunger game files, which can be found on your drive under Program Files x86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Dreadhunger, Dreadhunger without a space, Binaries, and Win64. Paste your copied files into this folder. Of course, if you had a previous version of this overlay, you will want to replace the old versions with the new content. I also want to quickly acknowledge that if you have a less than legitimate version of Dreadhunger, this version of the server overlay won't work for you. You'll instead need to download the server overlay from dreadhunger.org. I'm pretty sure downloading this version of the overlay will be pretty similar steps, though all instructions for this can be found at dreadhunger.org under overlay. Alrighty, now the Dreadhunger overlay is installed, let's cover how to access and use the overlay to host your own games of Dreadhunger. Open up Dreadhunger. Now to access the overlay, you need to click the O key on your keyboard. This will open the overlay up, but you'll notice that your mouse isn't visible. As you move your mouse around, you'll see each section get highlighted as the mouse passes through it, but no cursor is to be seen. To fix this, press O again to close the overlay. Now press Escape, and now press O, and your mouse will be visible and it will be easy to navigate through the overlay. So what do all of these options in the overlay mean? At first glance, it will likely seem quite confusing, with a lot of green text and numbers, with little explanation. However, some of this probably does look familiar. The classic Dreadhunger sliders are back to control various important aspects of the game, such as the number of thralls in the game, the rate that your cold and hunger deplete, and the amount of damage predators do to you out there in the Arctic. Moving these sliders will adjust the settings for your upcoming game. Most players stick to the default values these sliders are set to, but a particularly tough or experienced crew could certainly change these settings up to make the game more difficult for them. The top slider is probably the most important here if you're playing with some of the future Totem mods, as it controls how many players can join your lobby and is relevant should you be trying to host 11-player games. Now below these sliders, you'll see a map selection drop box. Here you can select which playable map your upcoming game will be played on, with the normal maps of Expanse, Summit, and Approach all available, as well as the maps that require you to download the relevant mod, Old Expanse and Archipelago also being available should you and your lobby all have the correct mods installed. The drop box below this is where you select your server region. Currently, there are only two options, US East and EU Central, Both work relatively fine, though most of you hosting will select the USD server as the more widely used server option, unless your whole lobby is from Europe or something. There is a little checkbox just below this, and you can select this should you want to publicize you are hosting a game of Dreadhunger to the unofficial Dreadhunger Discord server. This is great should you only have a couple of people joining you and you need to fill your lobby out to play. You can also join this Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video, where you can keep an eye on the Looking for Group channel should you want to join lobbies hosted by other people. Finally, there's the mods button. Clicking this will open up this little extra tab, which you can expand by clicking the arrow in the top left corner. A whole bunch of different Dreadhunger mods are all now selectable to influence your upcoming game. And the beauty of these mods, or at least a majority of these mods, is that no other players need to have them installed, nor do you need anything extra installed yourself to use them either. Now, there are a lot of mods here, and I won't go through all of them for the sake of the video length, but a few community favorites that are worth explaining include 4 spells. This gives all thralls access to 4 pre-selected spells, with Whiteout and Hush being interchangeable as the flexible extra spell on top of Spirit Walk, Doppelganger, and Cannibal Attack. Betrayal. This mod completely flips the game on its head, changing how Dreadhunger works at its core. 2 thralls are selected at the beginning of the match, but should a thrall die, the thrall role is randomly assigned to another player in the match, creating fun and wild games where previously trusted crewmates suddenly become thrall. Lootable charms. A new findable item is added to the game. The Bone Dagger. Whilst it isn't a physical item you can use per se, should a thrall pick one of these up, they will immediately gain 1 tick of spell charge. This mod effectively changes up and manipulates the crew's understanding of which thrall is casting what spell, due to the ability to now cast back-to-back spells in-game. Should a crewmate pick up one of these Bone Daggers, it will do nothing, but the Bone Dagger will disappear, preventing thralls from getting them. Low gravity mode is just silly, allowing all players to jump particularly high, like an astronaut on the moon. Whilst it's not a serious mod, it makes for a fun game here and there. No prisoner removes the brick. Well, at least the need for keys to free players from the brick. Upon death, players automatically respawn outside their brick and can play immediately once more. This mod works quite well with the Betrayal mod, as a thrall who dies can immediately start back up as a crew and so forth. Quests Instant gives players a little scroll at game start, which the player must activate by dragging into any kind of crate, and then dragging it back into their own inventory. This is the only way to activate the quest, otherwise it will simply disappear and you'll never know what the quest was. Activating the quest gives each player a goal of sorts to complete throughout the game. It can be something simple like loot 4 skeletons, or a bit more challenging like make a stew. In any case, this mod gives players a unique reason to do odd or different things throughout the game in pursuit of their quest, and once complete, the quest will reward the player with random items. And I mean random. Players have gotten muskets or even nitros for completing their quests before, so it's a bit wild. Random rolls does what you imagine it would do. It completely randomizes which role each player is given when they join the game. This keeps the game more interesting, as players rarely end up playing the same role back to back and prevents fast loading players from hogging their favorite roles. Start Hushed is an interesting mod which does seem to be particularly popular in the lobbies I play. When the game begins, a Tier 2 Hush is cast, giving the thralls 45 seconds to discuss their plans in the privacy of the crew's silence. Though there are some glitches with this that cause crew's voices to not be turned off and the thralls can hear whatever nonsense the crew are speaking during the hush. However, the crew will not be able to hear what the thralls are saying at all. But be careful with this mod, as crew often look around to see what players' mouths are moving during this time to find early suspicions. Start with Spell Charge is a mod that gives the thralls additional spell charge at game start, allowing their first spell to be cast much sooner. Whilst this isn't anything groundbreaking, it's a fun way for the thralls to influence the game right from the very start. Totem mod is the mod you must select to access the many new additions brought in the downloadable Totem mod, which does need to be installed correctly using the mod manager in order to use. See my Dreadhunger has a new map, a guide to using Dreadhunger mods video for full details. Totem mod spells 1 to 4 are just presets that mix and match the new spells in an attempt to balance them out, as the game can be a little crazy if they're left unchecked. Play around with them as you like. Now, each Totem mod spell versions 1, 2, 3, and 4 have a different preset for if there are 2 thralls or 3 thralls in the game. So that gets quite big to try and explain at any length. So instead of trying to do that, I've just made a little graphic I'm putting up on screen. For the sake of easy explanation and understanding what each symbol means, this is Spirit Walk, this is Cannibals, this is Whiteout, this is Hush, this is Doppelganger. This is the cooldown spell, which allows you to transfer your current spell charge to one of your teammates. This is the damage ship spell, which damages the ship for 2, 4, or 6 holes. This is the teleport spell, which allows you to teleport directly to any of your totems currently on the map. And this is Explosive Rats, arguably the worst spell from the Totem mod expansion, but necessary as there is a preset where it is included, that being Totem mod spells 4. Anywho, select which mods you would like to play with. A good combination is 4 spells, lootable charms, random rolls, and start hushed. And now select Create Server. Doing so will instruct the overlay to create an API, which it will now do. This usually takes a few minutes. Once the API is created, which the overlay shows you when the orange waiting for API text changes to the green started text, you can now press the Join Server button to start the game up. When the game concludes, you need to press the Close Server button, which will wipe the previous game's server out and allow you to host the next server in the same way as before. Should a member of your game disconnect at any point via a fatal error or whatever other reasons that cause Dreadhunger to crash, DM them the IP address for your server that's located here, and they can reconnect by starting up the boiler on their own ship, driving the ship forward and inputting the IP address to reconnect. However, upon rejoining, they will very likely be unable to speak through in-game chat, which is a known bug at this time. Similarly, anyone hosting a game using this overlay, using a less than legitimate version of Dreadhunger, can do so following the steps found at dreadhunger.org. And that's it! A guide on how to install and use the Dreadhunger overlay to host your own Dreadhunger games. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. There's only one thing left to do, so let's go to the outro. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel for more creative gaming content. Now, down below me are details for all my social medias, including my Twitter account, my Patreon, and my Discord, which are all worth checking out, and details for my Twitch stream are just up here. There's also a brilliant other video you can watch right here. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck with all your endeavors, and remember to think just a little bit different.